The last sound on the call was a door creaking open. Springfield, Illinois. October 12, 2007. A biting chill clung to the night air like smoke from a distant fire. The wind carried dry leaves across the empty streets as porch lights flickered in quiet neighborhoods, the town winding down for the night. At exactly 10:46 p.m., the city's 911 emergency line lit up. The call came from a suburban home on the edge of town, an older two-story house nestled between the tree line and a rarely traveled dead-end road. The dispatcher answered with routine calm. But what followed was anything but routine. A girl's voice came through, quiet, strained, like someone trying not to breathe too loudly. Her voice cracked. "There's someone in the house." The dispatcher sat up straighter, tone shifting instantly. "Ma'am, what's your address? Are you safe right now?" But the girl didn't respond immediately. There was only silence, and the muffled sound of someone, or something, moving in the background. Slow footsteps. A faint tap on wood. Then a whisper. Not hers. The dispatcher spoke again more urgently. "Ma'am, are you able to speak? Can you tell me your location?" Then, as if forcing herself to say it, the girl whispered again. "I locked the doors. I thought I did." The dispatcher kept the line open, beginning to trace the call. "Who is in the house with you? Are you alone?" And that's when it happened. A sound. Soft, drawn out. The unmistakable creak of a door slowly opening. Then nothing. No scream. No thud. No struggle. Just silence. And the line went dead. The call lasted 53 seconds. The dispatcher immediately escalated the situation as a potential home invasion in progress. Officers were dispatched within minutes. They arrived at 10:58 p.m. to the address traced from the phone, 2317 Woodbridge Lane. The home was dark except for a single lamp glowing faintly in the living room window. The door was locked. No sounds came from inside. When police forced their way in, what they found was a chilling contradiction. The house appeared untouched. No signs of a break-in. No blood. No struggle. No signs of forced entry. And most disturbing of all, no girl. Only a sleeping toddler upstairs, safe in her bed. The babysitter, 16-year-old Emily Rowe, was nowhere to be found. Her purse was still on the kitchen counter. Her phone was missing. The TV was off. The baby monitor sat on the coffee table, still turned on. The only thing even slightly out of place was the basement door. It was ajar. Ever so slightly. One officer pushed it open, flashlight cutting through the black. The staircase descended into cold darkness. No sounds came from below. When they searched the basement, they found only one thing. A child's plush toy on the floor, a stuffed elephant belonging to the toddler upstairs. And muddy footprints. Too large to be Emily's. Neighbors were interviewed. One in particular gave the police pause. A man who lived alone next door in a house that hadn't seen a porch light turned on in over 2 years. He said he didn't hear anything. But then he added something strange. "I saw her earlier," he said. The officer raised a brow. "Saw who?" "The babysitter. Emily." She waved at me. "What time was this?" "About 7. Just before it got dark." The officer nodded. "Anything else?" The man hesitated, then said something that made the officer freeze. "She was standing in the hallway. But the light behind her was off." The officer tilted his head. "What do you mean?" "She was in silhouette. You know? Only light on was outside. I could see her in the window. But behind her it was all black." The man gave a crooked smile. "And I swear, there was someone standing behind her." The search for Emily went on for days. Then weeks. Then months. No leads. No suspects. Just one unanswered call and a house that refused to give up its secrets. The official report listed Emily Rowe as missing under suspicious circumstances. But everyone in Springfield remembers the recording. The 911 tape was never made public, but rumors spread fast in a town like that. Everyone heard a different version. Some said she screamed. Others said she begged. But those who heard the actual tape all say the same thing. The last thing you hear is a door creaking open. Then, nothing. 7 days before the call that would grip the town in fear, Emily Rowe rode her bike down a winding stretch of cracked pavement that led into the old Woodbridge district. Autumn had just begun to take hold. Trees shed their leaves like secrets, and the wind whistled low through broken fences and old porch swings. Emily had been babysitting since she was 13. She preferred it to working fast food, and besides, she liked kids. It was quiet work. Predictable. Safe. The Millers were new clients, well off, mid-30s, and freshly moved in from Chicago. They had one daughter, Mia, just 3 years old. wide-eyed, always holding a pink plastic dinosaur and shy around strangers. The kind of child who clung to your knee and peeked from behind your arm. The house stood far at the end of the street, where the road simply ended and gave way to woods. There were no sidewalks out that far. Just cracked gravel, leaning mailboxes, and the smell of damp pine and old bark. Emily noticed the neighbor's house the first evening she came to sit for Mia. It was hard not to. Set slightly apart from the others, its shutters hung loose and crooked. The grass was dead. Ivy crept up the side like black veins. No lights were on, but someone was definitely inside. She didn't see him at first. Not until she was locking up her bike and heading toward the front porch. Then her eyes drifted left, and there he was. Upstairs. In the window. Standing motionless behind the glass. Pale face. Graying hair. Heavy jawline. Watching. When she asked Mrs. Miller about the neighbor during the walkthrough, the woman only smiled, polite but brisk. "Oh, Mr. Eldon? He's mostly quiet. Harmless." The husband added, "Keeps to himself. Bit odd, but old houses do that to people." Emily didn't push. But something in her stomach turned at the mention of him. The name didn't match the way he looked. There was nothing soft or forgettable about him. That wasn't a man who kept to himself. That was someone who kept watch. Over the next few days, Emily babysat 3 times at the Miller house. Each shift followed the same pattern. She'd arrive just before sundown. The Millers would rush out in a flurry of cologne and apologies. Mia would cling to her leg. Emily would settle her with snacks and cartoons, give her a warm bath, read 2 bedtime stories and leave the hallway light on. Then by 8:30 the house would fall quiet. And that's when she'd feel it. Like someone was studying the house. She'd glance through the curtains, usually at the same window, the upstairs bedroom of the neighbor's home. More often than not, she'd see him there. Not moving. Not blinking. Just watching. She told herself it was nothing. People are allowed to look out their windows. Maybe he was lonely. Maybe he was just strange. But the third night, something happened that unsettled her. She went to take the trash out, stepping carefully in the dark, her flashlight bouncing in her hand. Halfway down the driveway she heard it. Footsteps. Not behind her, but ahead. In the side yard. Crunching leaves. A quick, heavy step, then silence. She froze. The sound didn't return. But when she turned back toward the house, her stomach dropped. The upstairs light in the neighbor's home had just gone off. She hadn't seen him this time. But she could feel him. And she didn't take the trash out again after that. Later that week, Emily mentioned him casually to her friend April during lunch. "You ever hear of a guy named Eldon Holloway? Lives at the edge of Woodbridge?" April furrowed her brow. "Oh, you mean the Watcher?" Emily blinked. "The what?" April nodded, chewing slowly. "Kids on our old bus route used to call him that. Swear he used to stand in his window for hours. Creeped everyone out. My cousin said he hasn't left the house since like 2002. Emily raised an eyebrow. "Why?" April shrugged. "Something about his wife disappearing. She used to live there. No one ever found her." The conversation stuck with her for days. She even Googled his name that night. But nothing came up. No missing wife. No arrests. No news stories. It was like he never existed, except behind the glass. On her final babysitting shift, October 12th, Emily arrived early. The sun was still up, casting long orange shadows across the yard. As she locked her bike to the porch railing, she glanced toward the neighbor's house. No one in the window. The curtain hung still. But a strange feeling crawled over her skin anyway. Inside, Mrs. Miller seemed rushed. Her earrings weren't on yet. Mr. Miller was tying his tie while balancing his phone on his shoulder. They thanked her a dozen times and promised to be back before 1. And then they were gone. Emily played with Mia for an hour. Built a block tower. Ate half a grilled cheese. Gave her a bath and put her down early. Mia had fallen asleep on her shoulder before she even reached the stairs. By 8:40 the house was still. And that feeling returned. Not fear exactly. The Millers left just after sunset, thanking Emily again as they hurried down the porch steps. Their daughter Lily clung to her mother's arm until the last second, then reluctantly reached for Emily's hand. The child looked tired, her head resting on Emily's shoulder before the door had even closed behind them. The house felt larger than usual that night. Quieter too. Emily fixed Lily a simple dinner, mac and cheese and a cup of apple juice, before guiding her upstairs for story time. The girl picked a worn picture book about stars and moons, her tiny fingers turning the pages slowly. By 8:30, Lily was curled beneath her blanket, breathing softly. Emily kissed her forehead, left the night light on, and gently shut the door behind her. Downstairs the silence stretched thin. Emily settled into the living room, pulling a fleece throw over her legs and opening the paperback she had brought from home. The story should have distracted her. But she kept reading the same sentence over and over without realizing it. The wind rattled the old windows. At 9:15 the porch light flickered. What? Then again. Emily's eyes lifted from the page. She glanced at the window above the kitchen sink, but the front steps were empty. The bushes swayed in the breeze, casting long, crooked shadows across the walkway. Probably nothing, she thought. Still, her hands tightened around the book. She turned back to the page, when a burst of static hissed from the baby monitor sitting on the coffee table. Emily leaned forward, staring at it. It crackled again. Then slowly the noise changed. The static faded. Something else emerged. Faint. Uneven. As if someone far away was speaking through layers of static. A voice. Mel. Where is she? Emily's breath caught in her throat. She grabbed the monitor and stared at the blinking red light. The sound cut off. She raced up the stairs 2 at a time. Lily was still asleep, undisturbed. Her plush dinosaur was clutched in one hand. The blanket hadn't moved. Emily checked the bedroom window. Locked. She moved to the other rooms, bathroom, hallway, guest room, checking each pane of glass. Every latch was in place. Still, her pulse wouldn't slow. There was something wrong. She could feel it in her chest. That's when she noticed a pale glow through the hallway window. The backyard motion light. It had switched on. She crossed the room and pulled the curtain back slowly. What she saw made her legs stiffen. There, just beyond the swing set, under the edge of a dying maple tree, a figure. Tall. Motionless. Standing perfectly still, half concealed in the shadows. Too far to see the face. But not far enough to miss the unmistakable shape of someone staring back. Emily stumbled away from the window. Her hands trembled as she picked up the cordless phone and dialed 911. The tone rang once. Then twice. A voice picked up. 911, what's your emergency? Emily tried to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. She forced herself to be clear. There's someone in the backyard. I'm babysitting at 2317 Woodbridge Lane. Please, someone's watching the house. The dispatcher began asking questions, but Emily could barely hear her. A sudden sound made her turn. Not from the window. From behind. Down the hall. A low groan. Like old wood shifting. She stepped forward cautiously. And that's when she saw it. The basement door, barely visible from the corner of the living room, was open. Just slightly. No one had touched it all evening. She had checked it herself earlier. It was latched. She walked toward it, holding the phone tighter, her other hand reaching out slowly. The dispatcher's voice continued through the receiver, muffled now, distant. Then the door creaked wider. Creak. And the line went silent. Emily stood frozen. The hallway seemed to narrow. The basement stairs beyond the doorway descended into darkness. No sound came from below. Not even breathing. She stepped back. 1, 2. Her foot hit the edge of the coffee table. She reached for the monitor again, but it was already blinking. Red. Blink. 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 More static. Then beneath it, footsteps. Not from the monitor. From the basement. Heavy. Slow. Step. Step. Emily ran upstairs, nearly tripping on the last stair. She burst into Lily's room and locked the door behind her, turning off the nightlight and backing into the corner. She didn't cry. Not yet. She pressed the phone to her ear, hoping to hear the dispatcher. But the line was dead. No dial tone. Just silence. For 10 long minutes nothing happened. Emily crouched near Lily's crib, trying not to breathe too loudly. Her heart pounded in her ears. Her palms were slick. She considered climbing out the window. But they were on the second floor. The neighbor. Maybe he could help. Maybe he saw something. But then she remembered the stories. The watching. The woman who vanished. No. She looked back toward the door. And saw the shadow beneath it. Moved. Very slowly. Left to right. Then gone. She waited. Listened. The hallway creaked. Something tapped against the wall. What? Then again. She could feel the presence beyond the door. And then. The doorknob moved. Just slightly. Turned once. Rattled. Then silence. Emily pulled Lily into her arms and held her tight, rocking back and forth. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But she stayed still. Until, from somewhere below, a loud knock echoed through the house. Then another. 3 knocks. Slow. Even. Someone was at the front door. Police vehicles pulled into the narrow cul-de-sac at exactly 11:07 p.m. Flashing red and blue lights lit up the Miller residence, throwing shifting colors across the siding. Officers approached the front steps cautiously, guns drawn, their boots crunching leaves and gravel. There was no sign of struggle outside. Nothing broken. No shattered glass. The porch light remained dim, its bulb flickering like it had earlier. The front door was locked from the inside. A responding officer knocked firmly. No answer. They called out. Still no sound. Eventually the door was breached. Inside the home looked untouched. A child's blanket draped across the arm of the sofa. A half-read book lay open near the baby monitor. The cordless phone, its battery blinking red, rested face down on the floor. All lamps remained lit, casting gentle warmth across the space, too peaceful for what had just happened. They moved quickly, clearing each room. Nothing. Then they went upstairs. Lily was found asleep in her crib, clutching a plush dinosaur, her cheeks still flushed from slumber. Not a scratch on her. No blood. No broken windows. But the teenage girl who'd been hired to keep her safe, Emily Rowe, was missing. Gone. As officers began a deeper search of the property, something odd came to light. Down in the basement, an unfinished space of exposed beams, boxes and old paint cans, one of the deputies noticed dirt smeared across the concrete floor. Not scattered. Footprints. Large ones. Bare. The prints crossed the room and stopped at the far wall, an area covered in flaking drywall and warped wood. Upon closer inspection, the wall appeared newer than the surrounding foundation. Someone had tampered with it. It wasn't just a wall. It was a cover. Behind it, a tunnel. Investigators tore the false panel loose. Behind it was a narrow corridor, low ceiling, tight walls and the smell of mold and old earth. The officers followed it, crouching as they moved deeper, their flashlights sweeping over spiderwebs, cracked pipes and water-stained bricks. At the end a door. Rotting wood. Metal hinges rusted over. It opened with a groan. And revealed another basement. This one darker. Colder. Across the way, a rickety wooden chair faced the tunnel. As if someone had been sitting there, watching. A worn blanket draped over the backrest. A coffee mug. Several half-burned candles placed in a semicircle. This basement belonged to the neighbor, Eldon Holloway. Eldon had not answered his door when officers knocked earlier. His home until now had always been the subject of rumor. The one place kids dared each other to approach on Halloween. But now the inside revealed a truth far worse than folklore. No furniture. No decorations. Just boxes, shelves, and stacks of photos. Hundreds. Pinned to walls. Stuffed in drawers. Taped to mirrors. All of Emily. Feeding Lily in the kitchen. Reading near the fireplace. Standing in the hallway. Carrying groceries. Sitting alone on the front steps. Taken from outside. Each picture dated. The earliest one was from 3 weeks prior. The most recent? Time-stamped just hours before her disappearance. In that image, Emily was sitting on the living room floor. The baby monitor visible behind her. A pale hand pressed to her cheek in thought. The photo had been taken through a window. More photos surfaced as officers combed the house. Tucked in a box beneath the staircase they found older ones. Different subjects. Other babysitters. Unidentified girls. Same angles. Same kind of framing. Faces filled with unknowing innocence. All taken from the shadows. Next to the photo collection lay something else. A journal. Handwritten. Dozens of entries. All disturbing. Each note tracked routines, emotions, observations. They weren't just logs. They were obsessions. She sings to the child on Tuesdays. Tonight she made soup and sat by the window. She heard the monitor this time, shut it off faster. One final page had only a single sentence. She will join the quiet soon. Back at the tunnel entrance, officers found claw marks in the dirt. As if someone had tried to turn around. To fight. To escape. But the passage was too narrow. Whoever pulled her through had prepared for that. And blocked it off once finished. Police obtained a warrant and launched a manhunt for Eldon Holloway. But his home was empty. His car still sat in the garage. No wallet. No phone. No signs of departure. Not even footprints leading away from the property. It was as if he had vanished, just like Emily. Neighbors were stunned. They described Eldon as reclusive, quiet, strange, but not dangerous. He had lived there for nearly 30 years. No family. No friends. Rarely seen. Children had always whispered stories about the Watcher, but no one ever took them seriously. Now the legend was no longer harmless. It was real. And one girl had paid the price for everyone's disbelief. As dawn broke, forensic teams began pulling evidence from both basements. Soil samples, hair strands, blood. Just a smear, barely visible, on the edge of the tunnel wall. Enough to suggest Emily fought back. But not enough to find her. And Holloway? Still gone. Like a ghost. By sunrise, yellow tape surrounded both properties. News vans lined the street, reporters whispering into microphones while neighbors gathered in disbelief. And then around 6:40 a.m. they found him. Mr. Holloway, wearing the same tattered flannel he was last seen in, was discovered sitting on the floor of an abandoned greenhouse half a mile from his home. He wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was waiting. Eyes open. Hands folded. Silent. When police approached, he simply said, "It's done." No struggle. No panic. He was taken into custody. Inside the interrogation room, Holloway kept calm. Barely blinked. He spoke softly, sometimes trailing off mid-sentence as if lost in his own thoughts. Detectives pressed him. Where was Emily? Was she alive? What happened after the call? But his response never changed. "I kept her safe. You don't understand. I wasn't the one watching." He spoke of things that didn't make sense. Ramblings about something in the walls, and the whispering that comes after dark. Officers dismissed it as an act, an attempt to fake mental illness. Still, there was one chilling consistency in everything he said. He truly believed he wasn't alone in that tunnel. That afternoon the crime scene team went back. This time they brought cadaver dogs. They searched the full stretch of the tunnel, every inch of soil, every hidden crevice. Then, behind a slab of stone deep in the storm tunnel's old drainage section, they found something new. A footprint. Smaller than the others. Bare. Leading into a bricked-off chamber no one had seen before. It took hours to carefully knock through the barrier without collapsing the structure. Inside they found three things. A discarded phone, Emily's. The screen shattered. Blood dried along the side. A worn shoe. Pink with a small daisy sticker on the heel. And a dark red smear trailing along the floor, dragged not spilled. But no body. No sign of life. No answers. DNA confirmed the blood belonged to Emily. Her fingerprints were all over the phone, even on the cracked lens of the camera. She had tried to call again. And failed. What she saw in those final seconds remained a mystery. The prosecution tried to build a case. They had circumstantial evidence, yes. Photos. The journal. The hidden passage. The blood. But no body. No witnesses. And Holloway? He denied any violent action. He didn't run. Didn't destroy evidence. Didn't confess. He clung to the same story. "I heard it whisper her name. I tried to close the wall before it got through." Jury selection was tense. The trial lasted 3 weeks. In the end he walked. Not because the jury believed he was innocent, but because no one could prove what happened after that call disconnected. Springfield changed. Parents stopped hiring sitters. The Millers moved 2 months later, unable to bear the memory of that night. Their daughter Lily, still too young to understand, would one day ask why her favorite babysitter never came back. The Holloway house remained empty. Windows boarded. Grass overgrown. Locals avoided the block after dark. The tunnel was sealed with reinforced concrete. But the legend never died. Some say they still hear things beneath the ground on quiet nights, scratching, breathing, even crying. Others claim to have seen Emily in the woods, standing beneath the trees, barefoot, still wearing her denim jacket, still 16. In 2011, 4 years after the disappearance, a letter arrived at the Springfield Police Department. No return address. Inside, a single photograph. Blurry, black and white, but unmistakable. A girl crouched in a tunnel. Eyes wide, covered in dirt. Still alive. No message. No signature. Just a date scribbled on the back. October 12th. Same year. Same night. Forensics couldn't authenticate it. No one could trace the sender. And the girl in the photo had her face turned halfway from the lens. But Lily, now 7, said one thing when they showed it to her. "That's Emily's necklace." Some believe Holloway wasn't lying. That something else had made its way through the storm tunnels. Something no one could explain. Something that took Emily and left him behind. Others say he staged it all. That he built the tunnel, planned every move, and broke just enough to make himself look insane. Whatever the truth was, it never came out. Holloway died in 2019. Heart failure. Alone in a care facility upstate. No visitors. No family. No confession. His last words? "They'll forget her." But she never forgot them. Emily Carter's disappearance remains unsolved. Every October, on the anniversary of that terrible night, someone leaves a single daisy on the steps of the Miller's old house. No one knows who. But the message is always the same. We remember. If you found this story gripping, unsettling, and unforgettable, subscribe to the channel for more fictional mysteries just like this one. We bring you new haunting tales every week, based on chilling possibilities and unanswered questions. And if you believe Emily's story isn't over, leave a comment below.